All right. Mr. Pumpkin's here. I like him.
I like all of them. They're pillow covers. They were less than $20.
Really?
For all 4. It's like having 4 new pillows. I'm telling you, pillow covers are where it's at.
Trick or treat. I like it. Telling people what to do. They're just one-sided.
Yeah, I mean, they were really cheap.
All right. People who are listening just with audio have no idea what we're talking about. It's Halloween season. It's October, so we're talking about pillow covers.
Yeah, I am. When my friend said to me when I was looking for new pillows, Chris, calls me Chris, what about pillow covers? And I was like, I never thought about it. And when I went online and I saw that pillow covers could be so inexpensive, and I ordered my first set that are super soft and were less than $25 for all 4. You can't get 4 new pillows for under $25.
No.
So now every holiday is going to have new pillow covers.
Yeah.
And now I'm judging my other pillows. I'm like, I don't know if I like you anymore. You might need a cover.
Much like with our friends.
You can still stay, but you're going to get a makeover.
Yeah, you have to get a
makeover.
You got to cover that stuff up. You can't. Bedding's really expensive. And we have yet to find the perfect, when you find the perfect sheets, or, it's just like you never want to get out of bed. Yes. I'm still looking for them. I think we found the perfect winter sheets because we have like flannelly sheets that we put on in the winter, and it's like a hug from Jesus.
Yes.
It's really nice.
Yes. I'm looking for a comforter, and you would think this would be easy, but I'm really picky, and they all seem to be white, which I don't want, gray, or blue. I don't want any of those colors, and it seems like they're all those colors, or there's some bonkers color that I don't want.
Who decided that those were like the default colors?
I don't know. If someone listening out there knows why all the bedding is the same color, I'd like to know. Because it's not for me. And I've looked on Wayfair, and I've looked on Amazon, and I've looked at Home Goods. Search is on.
The search
continues.
The search never ends, really, because you find one, and then it's like I need more.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, I really need some help, Ralph.
Call me.
Did you see that?
Call me. Yeah. Oh man, you did it again. Did it again. Yes, I can help you, and you want to kick off what we're talking about. What the question is today?
Yes, the question today is, how do I ask for help? And we're like through personal relationships as well as at work.
Yeah.
I kept it real simple. I kind of made it a little succinct, the question.
No, I like it. And you did it perfectly. Hey, I need your help. Can you help me pick out pillows and pillowcases?
And with comforters.
Yeah. So like I said, I just did a TikTok about this morning, and it comes up a lot in a business sense, but also personally, it's interesting to hear people talk through the struggle of asking for help. Yeah. And I think nobody's safe from this.
No.
I think everybody struggles with this in some way, shape, or form. And I have a couple points that I see as major points when somebody comes to me and says I have trouble asking for help, or with myself, I have trouble asking for help. What do you think that the point is that keeps coming up over and over, either for you or for clients that you've worked with, in terms of I'm having problems asking for help?
Well, it goes back to a lot of the themes that we've talked about so many times before, but I think sometimes when someone wants to seem perfect, when someone strives for that perfectionism, asking for help would mean I can't handle it myself. I can trigger that I'm not good enough piece that some people struggle with, and don't want to appear incompetent, and again just want to present that they can handle everything, and see asking for help as a weakness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it's giving over power to somebody else. I can't do this myself, so now I'm handing over the reins.
That's the other piece. Thank you for saying that.
You're
the
welcome.
other part of it is needing to be in control. Needing to be in control. I have to do it myself. I have to do it this way. Otherwise, it won't be done right. And right can mean my way, or right can just mean right the right way. So sometimes people, and trust. That's the other piece. So I guess need for control and trust. So trust, being able to trust your team or your friend or your partner, that if you ask them for help, it's going to be done.
Oh, wow.
Oh, hi there, friend.
Wow. Hi, Siri. See, my wristwatch thought you were talking to her.
Well, I was.
Obviously. Well, butt out.
Yeah, butt out.
Butt out.
Pretty soon Alexa will probably say something.
Right.
Now that I said her name.
Oh, how's that going with setting that up as your...
I'm having a blast today. She's been playing all kinds of soundtracks for me while I was working. We're doing well.
I love that.
We're getting along splendidly. She was a great decision.
When's she going to start paying rent?
I almost want to ask her, but I know we're in the middle of a podcast right now because I love to ask her questions. She can't answer to see what she says back.
I'm sorry, we got sidetracked.
No, I guess I was just saying being able to trust that if you relinquish the control, that other person or people are going to actually carry it out, especially if it is going to reflect back on you ultimately, especially if you're kind of in charge, or you're the boss, or you're the person that's orchestrating X, Y, or Z thing. If you ask somebody to take over a piece of it, being able to trust that they will do it and do it well is another big piece, which just goes another step into relationships. And what are your relationships like with your partner, friends, and or even your team at work, and the importance of that.
How much do you think perfectionism plays into it? Of if I ask for help, that means I have less control over the situation, the outcome, therefore it's not going to be done right because I need it to be done right. Does that play a part in it, or is it?
No, that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, yes. And it directly links to self-esteem, like many things that we talk about, that, everything has to be perfect, or I'm imperfect and I'm not good enough. If I think it often resonates a lot with people who really struggle with making a mistake more so than others, really beat themselves up, because then if you make a mistake, that's not perfect. And so when you're putting it in the hands of somebody else, you don't have as much control. There's more room for it not to be done.
But that's interesting, because why is asking for help equal making a mistake?
Well, no, not necessarily. That's not what I meant. I meant that if you were to ask for help and it's not done correctly, whether that's correctly in your eyes or just there is a correct way and a wrong way, then that reflects as a mistake. And if you're the person designated in charge of whatever it is, then that mistake is going to be mostly reflected on you. Am I being clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it resonated with me because there are people who may equate I'm asking for help with, oh, I've made a mistake somewhere. Even if you are doing things correctly, using air quotes, if you are doing things correctly, asking for help to get it more complete or get it over the finish line, you'd think, oh, I've made a mistake, or now you're rethinking everything you've done, completed so far, that, oh, I must have been doing it wrong if I need help now to finish it.
I think it's more, at least from my perspective, I'm not good enough if I have to ask for help.
Oh, yeah.
More than a mistake. I guess maybe we're just discussing semantics here. I don't know that I think that they think it's a mistake, but they can look at it, for some people, they'll look at it as a deficit in themselves, as something wrong with themselves, that they can't do it all by themselves. And so that could then lead to some self-deprecating and negative talk towards themselves at the fact that they had to do that. Because a lot of people are raised, and society doesn't help with the messages that they send of, we should be able to do all these things by ourselves. We should just be able to do it all. We should be able to be a parent and work full time and be all in all to our friends and all the time. And it's just not true. And it makes a lot of people very miserable trying to keep up to that, trying to keep that up.
You're hitting on an interesting point, because I feel like there's this undercurrent of, and I'm sure I've said this before on other episodes, there's this undercurrent of rugged individualism that
Okay.
permeate. Follow me on this. I'm
listening.
going somewhere.
Oh, I'm in the car.
Hop
and
in the car.
We are on the
put on your
highway.
seatbelt. We're going on a road trip. There's this, in America specifically, I think there's this undercurrent of rugged individualism that permeates everything we do. It touches every aspect of our lives when you live in this country. And I feel like it's this idea of, I'm striking out on my own. I can do it myself. I don't need any help. Look at what we've done in America. We've built this empire and the cities and tamed the wilderness and, you know. And I think there's a little inkling of that in what we do because we feel like you said, if I can't do this myself, I've failed in some way. I'm not living up to that idea of pulling myself up by my bootstraps and I can do this myself. I don't need help from anybody. I got this. I'm the expert. I can, you know, if you're at that place where you feel like I can't ask for help, I'm the expert, I can do this myself, anything that deviates from that little spectrum of life of like, okay, now I have to ask for help, everything just crumbled. Mm-hmm. Like your whole worldview of yourself and how you interact with people is in shambles because now you've had to ask for, no matter how big or small the ask is. It's like, you know, the thing that comes to mind is guys and cars. Like, if I can't fix my car myself, I've failed as a man in some way because we're expected to, like, blew a tire, I can fix it myself. A gasket, I can fix it myself. Hose, I'm just throwing out, I don't know what any of this is. I'm just
or how to fix it.
I have no idea. But it's the same, you know, it's the same kind of train of thought of like, I should know how to do this, and if I don't and I'm asking for help, I've failed being me in some way.
It made me think about, in my work, people that it takes so long to get into come to therapy, and maybe even to you as well, is that exact belief of not being able to like let go or admit you need help. And that whole rugged individualism, I think it's that whole thing that I should be able to do this myself. I should be able to fix this. Why can't I fix this? And self-deprecate. And I also see it a lot if I do get people working with me. Some I've worked with for a long time when I'm trying to watch the ums and the likes.
I know.
If it gets to a place where we are discussing medication being added, that comes up all over again. For most people that I can't do it myself, and why aren't my coping skills working, and why isn't therapy enough for me to be able to feel better, and et cetera, and thinking of themselves as failing or something being even more so wrong with them if therapy alone is not helping them feel better, deal with, let's say, anxiety or depression. And I frame it to those clients as, I don't know if other therapists would agree with me, but I look at it as sometimes medication management needs to be another tool in your toolbox. It's not going to fix everything by any means, but when it gets really, really high and really, really severe, it can make it so difficult for all those other skills to really effectively work, and you're exhausted trying to use them and them giving you very, very short-term relief. And looking at medicine is it's going to take that edge off a little. It's going to make things a little more manageable so that you're able to use all the other skills more easily to address the symptoms that are presenting.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said help equals failure. You didn't say that specifically,
no,
but you
thank you for
that was I think I heard that in there of if I'm asking for help, I failed.
Yeah.
Which is I don't want to curse because I don't want to check the box. No checking the box. This is not an explicit podcast, which is dumb anyway. Don't let me go on a diatribe about how cursing is not explicit. It's that everybody curses. I digress. I think it's sad. It's just sad that we've now collectively agreed for some reason that asking for help equals failure. I've failed in some way. I am not a full, complete person now because I've had to ask for help. And and it's seen as weakness. And I think that's also, for me, it's sad, but it also aggravates me a little bit. Like, asking for help, knowing what your limits are, and opening up to somebody and saying, I can't do this myself, can you help me with this, is not weak.
Self-care, too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's healthy boundaries, it's self-care, it's self-advocacy, and it's saying, I know what I can do and what I can't do, and I need your help with this. I don't think that's weak at all. And think of the other way of not asking for help ever and just struggling with doing everything yourself, the amount of damage that does. I don't know if damage is too harsh of a word, but if somebody never asks for help, personally, professionally, whatever, and just kind of struggles along in their life, imagine how much harm you're doing to different, like, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, not being able to open yourself up and get the help you need, the assistance you need, no matter what it is, to take some of that pressure off yourself.
Yeah, I also, the lonely comes up for me a little bit. Being very lonely and a lot being on you all the time. And what makes me think of it are people that don't believe they can rely, in general. They can't rely on anyone but themselves, and refuse to, or have a very hard time allowing themselves to rely on other people because maybe they've been burned and now they think everybody's that way. So that's like another piece that's very related to the other points that we've brought up. It's not necessarily always just about perfectionism. Maybe the reliability piece ties a little bit into the control piece, but just not, having experiences that have taught you that you can't rely on others, and so the only person to rely on is yourself. And that's very sad to me and very lonely to me. Yeah, it just does. It makes me sad when I think about that, or when I hear that, or when I see that in people, because it's not true. It's just, unfortunately, probably the individuals, whether it be family or others, that they've relied on in the past didn't follow through, and now they've said, hello, this happened last week. They now assume, they put that out on everyone now. Everybody's in that boat.
Yeah, and you saying lonely makes me think of personal relationships, romantic relationships.
Thinking of like that, yeah.
Specifically, romantic relationships where one person or both people refuses to ask for help or thinks it's weak to ask for help, and like, how does that affect the dynamic in your relationship if you aren't comfortable enough opening yourself up? How can you open yourself up enough to connect with somebody?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Getting
Preaching
real.
to the choir.
We're getting real.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody.
I'm thinking of all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. If you can't rely on someone to pick you up at the airport or whatever, then how are you going to rely on that person and feel safe opening up emotionally to them? Mm-hmm. How are you going to be safe trusting them with your feelings, with your deep dark secrets, with mm-hmm. being vulnerable and creating that intimacy would be particularly scary for these individuals. And
money comes up as too, because that's one of the big stressors in any relationship is money. Who's making what, who's making more, who's making less, and the person who is making less having to ask for help to do stuff. It's very rare when you have two people in a relationship that all things are equal. They have equal kinds of jobs, make equal kinds of money, so there's an imbalance in terms of who's bringing salaries and whatever, and that can be a stressor because the person who's not making enough as much, thank you, as the other person will sometimes have to ask for help. How are they setting up the bills, splitting the bills up? How are they, who's buying groceries this week? Who's, putting gas in the car? And sometimes it may come up where that person may have to say, hey, can you spot me for groceries this week? Or, hey, can you take care of putting gas in the car? That's asking for help. And if that's a struggle for you to be able to say, I need help with this,
Mm-hmm.
there's more going on.
Yeah, I'm gonna. That resonates with me a lot. I'm gonna share something about my situation in the past. When I started my business, I was living with my partner, and neither of us were ever making a lot of money, but we pretty much split everything down the middle. And I was really struggling because I was in the beginning of starting my business, and I didn't have trouble asking this person for help emotionally, but it hit my pride a little bit to say, hey, for me, just we weren't married, but we were together. Do you think you could pick up a little bit more on the bills for a little while I try to get this up and running? I mean, I did do it, but you feel bad because you've got this partnership and you're both contributing, and it wasn't like he had all this made so much more money than me.
Mm-hmm.
That might feel a little bit different. I don't know, but just putting him out a little bit or putting a little bit more on him, it did feel a little bit. But I did it, and it worked itself out. But it was weird. It felt a little. I didn't like it because you want to be able to hold your own as far as running a household and contributing.
I think that's the word, contributing. Everyone's feel like they're contributing equally.
Yes.
To whatever's going on. And full disclosure, I mean, I've gone through this with my partner too. I started my business 2.5-ish, 3 years ago, and same thing. This is my only stream of income, and it was rough for a while, and I did have to say, hey, I can't. I need your help with this month, or and it's never been like, oh my God, I'm contributing zero right now. I can't. It's just been like the needle has been kissing the red part of the meter, and I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna preemptively say this may be a little rough right now. And thankfully, I have somebody who's very understanding, and communication is a big part of it too. I mean, I communicated with him constantly, like, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm at, this is what it's going to be like, this is going to be rough, but luckily I have somebody wonderful who is very supportive and knew what was happening going in, and we've been able to, hasn't been all wine and roses and raspberries and,
unicorns
and sunshine and farts, it hasn't been all, it is rough, it's a roller coaster, but at the end of the day, there's more good than bad, and that's because we try to communicate as much as we can with each other.
Yeah, full transparency is probably helpful in these situations that you and I are sharing, but I also think that, just to bring it back a notch, I guess, it's not comfortable. It's not, and I think it's unrealistic to say everybody should feel comfortable asking for help all the time, because no, that's not true. So there's situations, especially around these types of things, they're not comfortable. And it doesn't mean there's something wrong necessarily in the relationship. It just means that, we've evolved our pride a little bit. And so sometimes, I guess I just don't want to downplay the difficulty sometimes of asking for help. And I just think inherently it can be difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there's necessarily a pathology behind it.
No, and that makes me think of the other side of the coin, the person who is being asked for help. I read an article today. There was a study, I believe it's Cornell University. Don't quote me on that. I'm 90% sure it's Cornell University. And they found that the people who were being asked for help, the recipients of the request, were actually more likely to be willing to help than the people asking for help thought they would be. Like, we think when we ask for help, that person's going to be like, I don't want to help you. You dink. Get out of here.
Right.
But that wasn't the case. Actually, they were 48% more likely to want to help than the person asking for help thought they would be. So people are actually 48% more likely to be willing and want to help than we think they are. So if that's a comfort to anybody, of like, I'm afraid to ask for help a lot of times, just know that the perception in your head is actually worse than the reality of the situation. Mm-hmm. People actually are good and want to help more often than we think they do.
Yes. You know what I was thinking about, though, Ralph?
No.
Do you know what I was thinking?
Please tell.
There are those rare, not rare, but people you don't come across too often that always ask for help.
Oh, sure.
That's a whole other side of the coin.
Yeah, that's this pendulum swinging way too far in the other direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's somebody that's constantly asking for help, then I would want to know. I would have questions about, their self-esteem and their sense of self and how their abilities, what they think they can and can't do.
Mm-hmm.
Are they depending too much on the kindness of strangers and not standing on their own?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I'd just bring those.
No, I think that's
folks
great.
up.
I love that. I love you bringing the flip side into stuff.
Flip the coin over.
Flipping the coin
Flipping
over.
Flipping the coin.
Right. So yeah, knowing that people are more willing to help, I think, is helpful. And knowing going in, I think we're starting to get into like the solutions for things, but I think it's important to talk about how to actually ask for help. Like what's a good way, like a good mindset to have going in when you're asking for help. And I think for number one, knowing people are more apt to help than we think they are is good. A good place to start. Also knowing yourself, what am I asking for?
Which sometimes can be the problem from the get-go. I've heard people say, I don't even know what I need help with. Which may mean I don't know what I feel comfortable delegating to someone else.
Oh, yeah.
Or I'm so overwhelmed I can't think straight. There's a couple different parts. But yeah, being specific and not necessarily spending a whole lot of time feeling like you have to defend why you're asking for help. But being clear about what you need help with and maybe a little bit of why.
Yeah. I think saying I need help is a great place to start, but I don't think it's a good place to end. Like, just saying I need help is not enough.
No.
Yeah, to yourself, like, okay, I need help. Good place to start. Great first step. But then, like you said, being specific about what do I need help with? Why do I need help with this? Mm-hmm. How can this person help me with what? And I know it may seem like a lot when you're just like with your partner and like, hey, I need help doing the laundry today. But in that simple request, there is a lot going on there. Why do I need help doing laundry? Are you not doing your own laundry? Is there something happening where I'm doing most of the stuff and you're not? Is there like a power imbalance of, the chores aren't being delegated fairly in the relationship? Even no matter how simple the ask is for help, there's a lot of dynamics that goes into somebody saying, okay, I need help with this.
You just made me think about the other, I'm going to say the other side of the coin, but the other reason why people might ask for help a lot is not necessarily because of self-esteem. The other reason why it could possibly be happening is because the other person, the other people are not doing what they're supposed to do, which then would put that individual always in the position of always having to ask for help. Mm-hmm. And because so-and-so's not doing their share, so-and-so's team is not doing their work, and the supervisor's always having to pick it up, then that's a whole other problem that needs to be addressed. That doesn't necessarily reflect on that person and asking for help, and they don't necessarily have trouble asking for help, but what they're having trouble with and probably a lot of frustration and resentment about is, why do I have to keep asking you to do this? Why aren't you just helping?
Right. So then would that still fall under the umbrella of asking for help, or is that just calling attention to an imbalance in the relationship?
Yeah, we might be going off into another.
No, I think it's an interesting point to bring up.
Yes, I think if you have to constantly be asking for help, especially around the same things, there's a bigger problem here. The problem is not you asking for help. Clearly, you've got that down pat. The problem is you're not getting the help. And so maybe the communication around expectations, responsibilities, wants, and needs to improve so that individual is not always in that position and those things are being balanced or completed or whatever the word is.
Yeah, I think and that goes back to the why am I asking for help right now? Mm-hmm. Is it me actually, right? Look at that.
There we go.
just like the Indy 500, just going around. But every time we're lapping each other. I don't know where that's going. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think it goes back to that idea of, why am I asking for help? Is it really because I genuinely need assistance with this thing that I'm struggling with? Or is it, you're just not pulling your weight? Mm-hmm. You need to do better. And then also asking, I'm going through what I talked about in the TikTok, and I will link to the articles in the show notes of what I read today that inspired this question for me, so everybody knows that
this question comes from Ralph.
Yes, and it's not just me like spouting this stuff. I read this. I read the articles. I do the research. I bring the receipts. So I'll link to all this in the show notes. Also, it's the this is a big one. Taking the emotion out of it.
Oh, we've touched on that.
Touched on that before, but emotions are sticky things, and it's like when you play Katamari, and I know this may be a really specific reference, but there's a game where you're a little prince and you roll this little ball around a living room and everything sticks to it, and the object is to get the ball bigger and bigger.
Okay.
It's a really fun game. Katamari Damacy, it's called. Google it. It's a Japanese game. It's amazing.
Sounds interesting.
But it's the same thing with emotions. No matter where they roll, they're going to pick everything up. Yep. Everything's going to stick to them, and they're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So when you're asking for help, it's good to be mindful of trying to keep the emotion out of it.
Absolutely.
Stick to the facts. Here's the issue. Here's what I need help with. Here's why I'm coming to you. Yeah. Here's what the outcome could be. Mm-hmm. People appreciate that more than I'm really upset that this isn't getting done, because that you've just
why is no one helping me?
Right, you've just short-circuited everything, and now people are focused on the emotion rather than the ask.
Yeah, and that's about being mindful and paying attention to what emotions you're feeling and kind of how intense they are. Because that happens when we don't manage our emotions early on, when we don't communicate early on, and we wait until we're at a 10, and then we don't have as much control over our emotions, and then we can often be upset with our behavior afterwards, and people can miss the content and be caught up in the emotion. I think that's just an overall thing that is helpful in so many situations. Because if we don't manage and cope with our emotions, often can get in the way of clear communication if we don't check them, feel them, look at them, talk to them, have a meeting with them. But maybe trying to do that, and this is so much easier said than done.
Absolutely,
it's a million times easier.
Because the emotions are very intoxicating things. Sadness, anger, joy. Pick your poison, but everything in moderation. Any emotion taken too far, you sit in it for too long, for too often. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it could, it becomes this habit and this kind of, I enjoy being in this space. I enjoy being angry at things. It's kind of like this blanket of comfort. And so yes, it's hard to not necessarily divorce the emotions entirely, because we can't do that because we're not robots, but being able to turn the volume down enough where it's not the primary thing in the conversation.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
I like where you went there.
Thank you.
You connected the emotions. You know how I feel about the emotions.
Yeah, I know how you feel about the emotions.
Talk about them all day. Love them.
Love them. Hate them.
Yeah, sometimes we hate them, but guess what? We can argue with them all day long. They are there. They're there whether we like them or not. We can cope with them, take care of them, or we can be mad at them.
Right. I also think making the ask a communal thing helps. Because it's making it not just about you, but here's how it helps us. Here's what we both get out of this, I think, is good as well. I don't know. What is something good that people can think about if they do have trouble asking for help, and they can think about?
that I think a lot of people feel really good when they help other people. People like to have a situation, or I don't want to say a problem, but I guess we could say a problem or a project, and being able to help makes them feel good. And then sometimes people think they're putting others out so much and making their life such a burden, but I think it's the flip side a lot of the time, that people actually feel good and enjoy being able to help, especially if it's someone they care about or a team they really value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It feels good to help.
I like to help. I'm a helper.
Yeah. I think, like I said before, I think we all, to some degree, enjoy helping. I think it's very rare to meet somebody who's so far up their own butt that they refuse to help somebody else in some way, shape, or form. I think I have to believe, it's just a part of who I am, I have to believe that there's more good in people than not. And I believe in the general goodness of people and people wanting to help. You know, I think when we don't give ourselves the chance to logically think of something, my freaking watch again is listening. I keep hearing, how can I help you?
I think that your watch is like, hey, let me ask you something.
I hear that you're talking about help. How can I help? Shut up, Siri.
Yeah, the watch has no trouble asking.
No, right? Man. Leave me alone. Now I lost my... I think if we don't give ourselves the chance to think about it, once our logical brain kicks in and starts looking at stuff, that's when the problems start.
Yeah, right.
I think when a natural disaster happens, look how many people jump in to help their neighbors. Somebody's sinking in a car that's been flooded on a street. You know, people jump in, throw ropes, let's help each other.
Yeah.
Rafts, People are generally good and they want to help. It's the thinking about it that gets in the way of stuff. So that's why I feel like even just knowing that part of it, and like knowing that people are more inclined to help than you think, can help.
I like it.
Yeah.
People want to help.
People want to help.
Ask for help.
People want to help. Ask for help.
I don't know where the dot came about.
.gov /
Yeah.
About us. _ I don't know.
We're making no sense now.
We're making no sense now. This has gone off the rails. So in conclusion,
yes,
asking for help. Where is the nice middle ground when asking? Because we've talked about the pendulum swinging too far, like not asking for help, asking for too much help all the time.
Yeah, I think evaluating what you're able to do and what you're not able to do first when you have whatever it is that you're working on, whatever it is, personal, emotional, work, whatever. Being able to evaluate what you're capable of doing by yourself, given everything else going on, and then being specific about what you need help with.
Yeah.
And remembering people want to help.
Okay. And I think my takeaway is asking for help is not a weakness. It's a strength.
Right, yes.
If you genuinely, truly need help with something, it takes a lot of strength to open yourself up and connect with somebody else and say, I need your help with this. And know that you're not less of a person for asking for help.
Right. I'm curious how many times we've said the word help in this particular
There's
episode.
probably, I'll go back and look at the transcript. I'll do a count and report back.
I don't know. I just was thinking about it, and I was
how many times we've said help in this episode.
It is the title of the episode.
It is the title, asking for help.
Appropriate,
right.
So.
It's like when you watch a movie or a TV show and they say the name of the show. Like if you watch the movie Titanic and they say the name Titanic.
Right.
Like, oh, they said the name of the movie. I don't know if I do that. I don't know if anybody else does.
I've done that. Yes, I've done
that. Cool. I think we've wrung this rag dry.
I agree.
Of everything.
Yep.
Our contact information is always in the show notes, so you can find us there if you want to talk to us specifically. And I apologize in advance for anybody watching this on YouTube.
They get to see the Halloween pillow.
They get to see us. They get to see the Halloween pillow, but also
that guy.
I don't know how I look in this.
Right.
Whatever. I'm not going to bore anybody with the details. I think that's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.